Something is happening beneath the streets of New Orleans that no one can quite explain. And the first glimpse of it arrived in the form of a shaky phone video that stunned millions within hours of appearing online. It begins innocently enough, just a sidewalk on a humid Louisiana afternoon, the kind where the air feels heavy and the city moves a little slower. But what the camera catches next is something no one expects. The pavement shifting ever so slightly, as if breathing. Then, with another subtle motion, a hairline crack splits open, and something glimmers inside. Not mud, not sewage, not rainwater, something that looks impossibly blue, like the surface of an ocean reflecting a cloudless sky. The person filming inches closer, and the sound becomes clearer. It is not dripping, not gurgling, not the dull churn of underground pipes. It is unmistakably the rhythmic push and pull of moving water. A tide under a sidewalk. A tide where no tide should ever be. The camera dips lower, catching another shimmer of that impossible blue, rippling with a pulse that seems too strong, too deliberate, too alive to be dismissed as a common leak. Within minutes, the clip ignites across social media, spreading through group chats, local forums, and global feeds with dizzying speed. People start calling it the hidden ocean, the underground Gulf, the New Orleans undercurrent, each name doing little to capture the surreal magnitude of what that footage suggests. New Orleans is no stranger to water. The city was born surrounded by it, threatened by it, reshaped by it, and rebuilt after it. Water is woven into its identity, its history, its tragedies, its triumphs. But this is different. This water is not rising from storm surge or overflowing from levees. It is not flooding homes, streets, or neighborhoods. It is quietly pooling beneath a single stretch of pavement, as if gathering with intention. That is the detail that transforms curiosity into unease. Water does not typically gather underground in a way that mimics the movement of waves. It does not shimmer with such clarity beneath layers of concrete. It does not look like an ocean waiting beneath the feet of unsuspecting passers-by. As more people flock to the location, additional videos surface. Some show the pavement gently swelling, then sinking, as if something beneath it is pushing upward, then receding, imitating the lazy breath of a sleeping giant. Others capture faint sounds, a soft churn, a distant rush, the unmistakable cadence of water in motion. Not storm water, not runoff, something deeper, something that feels ancient. Viewers freeze frames, enhance contrast, slow footage down frame by frame, trying to understand what they are seeing. None of the analyses help. The water still appears impossibly clear, overwhelmingly blue and strangely luminous. Not a reflection, not a trick of light. Something real, just out of reach. Speculation online grows wild. Some insist it must be an old drainage corridor filling up. Others argue that a bursted pipe could never produce water that moves so naturally, so rhythmically. A few compare it to the mysterious blue holes found in remote ocean regions, deep pockets of ancient water that seem alive. It becomes a digital storm of theories, skepticism, fascination, and awe. But through all the noise, one thing becomes undeniable. The video is too vivid, too raw, too perfectly positioned to be ignored. It hits a nerve, a mix of fear and wonder that people cannot look away from. Local residents start sharing their own experiences from earlier that week. Strange hollow sounds under the sidewalk, little vibrations felt during morning walks, a slight bow in the pavement they assumed was due to heat or settling foundation. Suddenly, these small moments feel like warnings missed. Elders in the community recall stories whispered after Katrina, tales of water moving through the city long after the storm had passed, not in the open streets, but through hidden paths beneath the rebuilding ground. Stories dismissed as exaggerations, metaphors for trauma, attempts to make sense of devastation. But the video makes these stories feel like fragments of a pattern people failed to pay attention to. Scientists are cautious in their assessments, but even their hesitation feeds the mystery. Underground water is expected in a city like New Orleans, but water that behaves like an ocean, showing tidal motions, reflective coloration, and wave-like movement, is not something explained in any standard geological model. The region's marshlands, bayous, and subsurface water networks are complex, shifting, and unpredictable, but none of them should produce shimmering blue waves under a sidewalk. What gives the video its viral staying power is not fear. It is the startling beauty of the water. People comment on how it looks like the Caribbean trapped under concrete, how it reminds them of the Gulf on its calmest day, how the blue is so vibrant it almost doesn't look real. But the footage is too raw, too unpolished, too imperfectly filmed to be staged. It is the kind of authenticity people instinctively trust. Every frame holds the jittery certainty of a real moment accidentally captured. As the clip circulates, the imagery becomes symbolic. An ocean beneath a pavement in New Orleans, water quietly building strength below the surface of a city that has spent generations learning to coexist with it. People interpret it as a message, a metaphor, a warning, a reminder. It becomes a canvas for collective imagination, a vessel for meaning in a world hungry for things that feel extraordinary. The comment sections explode with interpretations. Nature reclaiming space, hidden worlds revealing themselves, the earth signaling something deeper than anyone wants to admit. Even those who dismiss the dramatic theories cannot deny that the sight of what looks like an ocean forming under concrete hits something visceral. The mind knows it shouldn't be possible, yet the eyes cannot deny what the footage shows. That tension creates an energy that spreads faster than any official explanation could ever contain. News outlets start referencing the video. Influencers stitch reactions. Researchers request clearer footage, and locals return to the site repeatedly, hoping to witness the phenomenon firsthand. The city responds with measured calm, urging people not to panic, reminding everyone that unusual water patterns do not always signify danger. Yet the calmness itself becomes part of the intrigue. People interpret reassurance as concealment, composure as caution. Social media thrives on that friction, amplifying it until the narrative takes on a life of its own. The hidden ocean becomes more than a viral moment. It becomes a symbol of uncertainty, beauty, vulnerability, and resilience, all woven into one mesmerizing, unsettling sight. What makes the narrative so gripping is that it taps into the collective memory of the city. New Orleans is a place where the line between land and water is always shifting, where the past and present blur, where the ground beneath your feet is not always as stable as it seems. The idea of an ocean forming beneath a pavement does not feel entirely impossible here. It feels hauntingly plausible. It feels like something that could happen in a place shaped, scarred, and strengthened by water. As the days go on, people return to the video even after thousands of newer posts fill their feeds. There is something about it that won't let go. That flicker of blue beneath concrete, those gentle ripples glowing in the dim light, the faint sound of water echoing from a hidden chamber no one knew existed. It becomes the kind of moment people remember long after the initial shock fades, a reminder of how much of the world remains unseen beneath the surfaces we walk on every day. The narrative grows because it resonates with something deeper in the human imagination. We are fascinated by what exists just out of sight: underground rivers, hidden caverns, uncharted depths, all the mysterious places where nature continues to operate beyond human control. The idea of an underground ocean forming beneath a sidewalk in New Orleans captures that fascination perfectly. It feels like a threshold between the ordinary world and something vast, ancient, and untamed. And as the footage continues to circulate, the phenomenon becomes more than a question of geology or infrastructure. It becomes a story about perspective, about the unseen layers of reality, about the fragile boundaries between stability and movement, security and vulnerability, the known and the unknowable. People share the clip not just because it is shocking, but because it evokes a feeling, an emotion that lives somewhere between awe and uncertainty. That feeling is what makes the narrative viral. Not panic, not fear, but the realization that the world still has the capacity to surprise us in ways we cannot predict. That beneath the most ordinary places, something extraordinary might be waiting, and that sometimes all it takes is one accidental moment caught on camera to remind us of how thin the surface truly is.